Hello, everyone. Welcome to Word Funk. I'm Leon Thomas, and I'm joined by Johnny Maloney and Austin Yorsky. Fellows, how are you doing this week?
I'm tired.
Oh,
Are you tired or are you high?
No, not high yet.
It's weed day.
It's weed day, but I mean it's being rolled out really poorly.
You mean rolled
okay.
up?
I like this is I suppose it's worth talking about, but like
Drugs.
So as of today, as of October the 17th, 2018, Canada has become the second country to fully legalize recreational use of marijuana. So there's a whole bunch of caveats that come with it. Like apparently you're not allowed to have more than 30 grams of it in public, which is more than enough to get you and your horse stoned. But like the thing about it for me is that there's the most amusing thing, at least anyways, is how poorly the preparations for this legalization have come through. Because it's like there's a whole bunch of other things, like you're not allowed to have more than 4 plants for your personal use, and you can't buy any from unauthorized sellers. Now, you would think then that authorized sellers would be a thing that exists, but they don't. I think the federal government has largely left it in the hands of the provinces to manage the rollout, because like the provinces also manage like other controlled substances, like tobacco and alcohol and things like that. Like, for example, in Quebec, you can get beer at like corner stores, but in British Columbia, you need to buy liquor from like authorized liquor stores. Like you can't just wander into a Safeway and be like, "I want a bottle of wine." So this whole like authorized seller thing is different in like every province. As far as I know, in British Columbia, there is like one store.
bet it's packed.
Well, I don't know. I didn't go down and check it out today. But like in other provinces and things like that, they don't even have like material locations. You have like right now, the only place you can buy any stuff in Ontario, I believe, is off the internet, directly from like the government. So yeah, the government is selling pot now to people.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, in British Columbia, edibles and like tinctures and things like that are not yet legal. So it's just like the plant, if you can get to like that one store or order it off the internet or something like that. Like we all knew this was coming. This has been like on its way for months and months and months. But it's like now that it's legal, everybody's like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
So. Yeah, 420 blaze it or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Johnny, I love hearing you talk, but like the amount of like popping sound that happens when you talk these days, and especially this episode, is just like it's amazing. Do you not hear that every time you talk it goes?
I do not hear that.
It's okay.
Is it still doing it? Is it still happening?
It appears to have stopped. Maybe because I've called it out.
The problem that I have is that Skype takes it upon itself to adjust my volume levels. It's like,
oh, your volume is fine. It sounds like you are. It's not. It's like the sound of a faucet dripping, but like a lot. And not in like a pattern.
Maybe my connections are fucked up. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like volume clipping. It sounds like line noise or something.
Yeah, I'm. You would think I would have the technical knowledge at this point to know how to fix it, but I definitely don't. My technical knowledge is like very limited to like the thing that I use to edit my videos and like nothing else.
I
don't know hardware. No, it is like not your fault. You're not doing anything. Like there's nothing wrong with the way that you talk. It's just-
No,
they're
but
just-
obviously something around here is giving me the misbehave, and I don't know what. I don't know what it is. I apologize.
It's okay. No, it's whatever. I just thought it's funny.
I don't know if you're going to keep
I'm-
all that in, but it does raise my thought of, do you ever think about how all of the foremost like art critics of our generation are just going to have to be coincidentally people who are also good at editing videos? Because like YouTube, quote unquote critics are the ones who matter in the ecosystem now for the moment. I don't know, maybe we'll have like 4D critics on some kind of future service, but for now. And it just so happens that an unrelated skill set with video editing is the thing you need to do that. And what if you are just the most brilliant mind of our generation and you just can't figure out Sony Premiere? I guess just fuck off is what happens. That's just a weird thought I had.
Yeah. I mean, usually, like, knowledge about a topic also that does require you to do something else, like to be like a film critic, like someone who does knows a lot about movies. Also needs to be able to be a good creative writer. They have to be able to write very well. They can't just
there's some overlap in that, because like being able to analyze creative writing, being able to analyze a film and things like that means that you can like there's some understanding of what composition, like what's
Absolutely.
important about composition, but like understanding the composition of a film, or like sound levels on an album or something like that, and being able to like edit it in Sony Premiere. Those are like widely different skill sets.
Yeah, that is true. I'm just saying that like all your jobs that just require you to know a thing also require you to implement it in some way. And this is just a new way that everyone is going to need to learn how to implement it. I mean, the weird thing is it's not even replacing writing, because you also have to write it. So it's just something on top of the other thing.
Just an extra step.
Yeah, it's another step. And by another step, I mean it is by far the most time consuming of the steps that I go through. Well, that's not entirely true. It's the most tedious, I'll say. The writing actually it takes a while, and the research takes a while, but it's not tedious to do. Editing is like a lot of clicking. I'm
good at clicking.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're into it. Yeah.
I didn't say I was a fan.
Anyway.
I'm just good at it.
Oh yeah, like I can kind of do math, but I hate to. Yeah. Anyway, cool. I have like a bunch of topics this week. Unless Austin, you have something pressing you want to talk about.
I am not currently pressing. Please, Leon, press me.
Okay. I watched a thing and finished watching it moments before I went on to Skype and got started with this, which means it is fresh in my mind, and I have not formed coherent thoughts about it yet. Meaning, this is just going to be like a stream of consciousness review, rather than something that is like coherent and makes sense. Like we were just talking about, you need to be a good writer to talk about art. Like none of this is written. I'm just gonna like shoot shit out of my word hole.
Yeah, unlike
right
the usual WordFunk experience
Yeah,
where everything is written
carefully
out and
curated.
edited.
Yeah.
I do sometimes like I wouldn't say take notes, but like write things in my phone to say, oh, make sure you talk about this. But this is like I didn't even write this on my list of things to talk about because I just finished watching it, and I only watched it so we could talk about it.
This just seems wildly irresponsible. Like, what if it had gone on 2 minutes longer than you thought? You would have been late. You would have let everyone down.
I actually gave myself a lot of room. I just ended up pausing it a bunch because like I had other things I wanted to do. But yeah, I finished in time, and I watched Titans, the new DC Comics superhero show that is on there.
This is the dark, gritty one. Where, like, Robin's got a beef with Batman because he kills people. And Robin's like, we shouldn't kill people, Batman.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll as the only one who has definitely seen it, I will try to explain.
I saw a picture of it.
Great.
So I'm
I know.
pretty sure that qualifies me to have completely formed opinions about it.
Okay. So I'll just briefly give you a synopsis of this and then tell you why it's weird and bad. At least the pilot episode. Okay. So there's a girl, and her name is Rachel. She's Raven from Teen Titans and whatnot, and she has like magic dark powers inside of her. And her mother is like super Catholic, and she's like, I don't know what to do about you. Let's pray. And then some guy shows up and shoots the mom in the head, and he's like, yeah, I know who you are. And then Raven runs away. Dick Grayson is still Robin, but he left Gotham, and we learn why a little later, but I'll get into why in a bit. He left Gotham, and now he's a cop, but he's also still Robin, and he's tracking down like some guy who's like beating a kid, and he shows up as Robin, and he's like, I want this guy and nobody else. And all the other guys are like, nah, we're also gonna shoot you. And Robin beats them up really mercilessly. I think some of them die. It's not really clear. There's no like Batman throws a hand grenade into a room where two people explode moment, like in Batman v Superman, but it seems like a couple people die in that encounter. He breaks someone's head into a car window and then like rubs the glass part into him a lot. Like it's, I don't know, he's mad. He's mad about the kids. And then he says, fuck Batman, and then he walks away. That's it. Starfire shows up, and she's just a lady, and she has amnesia. She doesn't know that she's Starfire, and then she meets up with like a couple guys. Apparently, she is also looking for Raven, but she doesn't remember why because she has amnesia. And then she explodes a bunch of guys with fire because she's literally Starfire now, and that's her thing. And then Raven gets kidnapped by that guy who I think it's the same guy. I could be wrong. A lot of it happened fast. She gets kidnapped, and Dick Grayson tries to save her, but she's able to save herself. And then he's like, okay, girl, I'm going to take you somewhere safe. And she's like, okay. And then they leave. And then at the very end, Beast Boy turns into a tiger and breaks into a video game store to steal video games. And then it just ends.
Gripping.
So, yeah. Look, here's a couple complaints I have about the show already. One is there's a scene, like two-thirds of the way through the episode, and Dick Grayson is talking to like a cop who she's supposed to be his new partner, and then he starts talking about his old partner in Gotham when it's clear that he's talking about Batman. And he said, I had to leave Gotham because my partner just wanted to solve everything with fists, and I was worried that I was becoming like him. And I'm like, oh, interesting. For a second, I was like, oh, interesting. This show is not going to be dark and gritty. It's going to be about the importance of not being too dark and gritty. But then I remembered that just a scene prior, he mutilated a bunch of people. So it's a show. It's trying to what it is showcasing is in contrast to what it is claiming is its message. It wants you to think the brutal violence is exciting. And it's also saying brutal violence is bad. And it's not handling that framing very well. Again, first episode, I don't know, but it seems like that's going to be a thing, like in Daredevil or the Dark Knight trilogy, where like a running thing is, should there even be this vigilante? Because look how wrong it is. But really the show wants you and the movies want you to think that the vigilante should keep going because look how cool he is, and there should be more movies and seasons of this.
Yeah, what if halfway through the first season they're like, should there be vigilantes? And they just turn to the camera and go, no. And then they just walk away.
Right.
And then the second half of the season is just a remake of Friends.
yeah. Daredevil did this thing where it was like Foggy is the moral center of the show, where he's saying, well, you shouldn't do this because it's like, it's really fucked up. But the show wants you to think
hallway fight scenes are awesome.
Yeah. I hate the whole I'm gonna go halfway with this kind of thing that the Dark Knight trilogy also did.
I'm gonna do it,
whereas like,
but I'm gonna feel kind of bad about it.
Yeah, they people keep saying, the point of the Dark Knight trilogy is that there shouldn't be a Batman. It's like, no, I'm sorry.
The point is that it was very important that we blow up Iraq and Afghanistan, but, it's a little sad if you think about it.
Yeah, the people saying, that's the point. It's like, yeah, but there's a thematic dissonance between what the movie is claiming is its point and what it is trying to make the audience actually feel. This is a lie. Your movie is a lie. Those movies are still fine, but still. Ditto for one of the seasons of Daredevil.
I mean, there's a good way to do this. BoJack kind of dips his toe in there where it's like, if I fix myself, there's nothing interesting left about me. And, by extension, the show, that's like the other level of it. But we don't know how that's going to work out yet. But there is a way to do that commentary. It's just kind of frustrating that every single superhero property goes through those beats, and we know how it's going to turn out. So it kind of just feels like you're wasting time.
Yeah. So there's that. The other, God, I remember I had one more problem with the show, and now I've forgotten what it is because I went down that entire rabbit hole.
Literally, all I heard about was that people don't like the costumes. That's literally the only thing I know.
The costumes are. I mean, I haven't even seen the costumes yet because Raven is just dressed like a teenage girl, and Robin looks like Robin. He's fine. He looks like Robin. He looks like Robin, like the way Tim Drake kind of looked, whereas his outfit is kind of like a battle suit, but not really. It's just like lightly padded armor. It's fine.
It's a jerkin.
I do enjoy that word.
I do enjoy the word jerkin.
Jerkin.
Incidentally, I also enjoy the word gherkin.
Mm-hmm.
And I do enjoy gherkins as well.
Do you enjoy gherkin jerkin?
Absolutely.
Okay. Guys, this is not good.
I could have told you that years ago, Leon. That's
right.
Like this is not a new revelation.
This is not good.
Starfire. I mean, maybe people are looking at pictures from later in the season, but Starfire didn't have a costume yet. She was just dressed like a person.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, I'm not going to spoil myself by looking at what they look like at the end. I don't know if I'll continue to the end, by the way. I'm just saying. But anyway, yeah, I have no issues with the costumes. The problem I have with the show is that there are like these little moments where like you couldn't show that on basic cable or on network TV.
Who's airing it? What's the?
It's
the
on
medium?
Streaming. It's on DC's streaming service.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on the internet. That's where it is.
Yes.
That's it. And so like there's like little moments where he says "fuck Batman" and someone's head gets shot from behind, and it's quite graphic, and they linger on it, and you're like, oh, well, you couldn't show that on network TV. But the thing is, it's just sprinkled with that like the prestige dust, where it's like, oh, this is like an adult show, but without those little spots, it just looks like Gotham. It just looks like any other show. That it doesn't look remarkable in any way. It feels like, and I'm sorry, I know people hate it when I say this, but it looks like a TV show. It doesn't look like it's on HBO. It doesn't look like it's, Game of Thrones or whatever, or a show I like. It's just it looks like if without those little spots, it just looks and feels and is shot like a regular kind of drama. It looks like it's Empire. It just looks like Empire. Basically. I don't know. I guess I expect more. But I didn't get it. I didn't get the more. I was ready for like a cinematic, if you will, quality DC comic show. I was ready for that. I was like,
on
okay,
a streaming service.
They do it on Netflix. They do it on Hulu. They do it on Amazon.
But Netflix has more money than God.
You think Warner Brothers doesn't have money? It's fucking Warner
Yeah, they just
Brothers.
don't know how to spend it, though.
I guess. But well, the point is, like, no, this isn't like a mom and pop outfit. It's fucking Warner Brothers. They're one of the few major studios that still exists. But yeah. Long story short, is that I don't know. It just feels like a TV show that said fuck once. It's not. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to continue with it. I have so many other shows that I genuinely want to watch. Maybe I will, just to continue talking about it on this show. Unless people hated my talking about it, dummy in the comments, write the show.
I didn't hate it. I like listening. Fun.
Thanks.
I mean, do you have any affection for the Teen Titans, Leon?
Not particularly. I didn't read much. I read a little of the comics back when I read the comics, but I didn't read comics I didn't read comics for very long. Actually,
what about the cartoon?
I didn't watch any of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up with the Teen Titans cartoon along with Batman animated series and Justice League. It's like
yeah, well, yeah. I watched Batman the animated series, and Robin is in it.
Quick adjunct: is Young Justice as good as people say?
Oh yeah, that is actually a show that I did watch, and it has some character crossover with Teen Titans and Titans, I guess, but not a lot. It's mostly just Robin. And Robin.
The question
is not
still stands though, because I've heard very good things about it. Is it as good as people say?
It's great.
All right.
I don't know exactly what people say about it.
They say
but
it's
it is,
good.
In fact, very good. Then you should watch. Yeah, it is good, and I would recommend it. And there's a third season coming, and I'm definitely going to watch that.
Really?
I'm a lot more excited for that. No. It's
fuck
coming back.
me.
It's coming back. That was like the big news in nerddom for like a minute back when they announced that, because people were like dying for that to happen for a long time.
Leon, you can't expect me to pay attention to news.
I know. Anyway, yeah, it's cool. There's like, I guess, 4 main characters, and they're gonna have like other characters like Hawk and Dove later on. Maybe I'll watch one more episode and see how it goes. But like, I don't know. I just started finally watching the 3rd season of Fargo, and that seems like a better show.
Oh, can we talk about Fargo? We haven't talked about Fargo.
I love Fargo.
I mean, I'm 1 episode into the 3rd season. I can't really talk about anything that happened yet.
What about the first 2? Did we talk about it on the show already?
I'm almost positive we have, but we can
I might have
do it.
mentioned something, very possibly.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember us discussing it, but I have seen all of Fargo now, so...
As have I.
Okay.
It's a very good show.
I still can't. I'm still aghast at how well it works. Because when I heard that somebody was making like a show loosely based around Fargo, I was like, that doesn't sound like a very good idea. But bless you, Noah Hawley, you did it.
Yeah, it's very good, and in contrast, it does look cinematic. It does feel like I could watch this in a theater. It does feel smart, I guess this is the word I'm trying to say. Yeah. Anyway, it's good. It's not a bunch of trash.
It's not a bunch of trash. Raves, Leon Thomas.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've been watching a lot of trash lately, and it's like I don't even feel like talking that much about like complete trash that I like. Not that I like that I've been watching. Someone I was talking about some trash movie on Twitter, and someone was like, why don't you like it? And I said, it's shit. And he says, could you elaborate more? I'm like, I don't want to right now. I'm sorry. It's something personal. It's a perfectly innocent question. I'm not mad. It's just like I don't feel up to giving you like a mini review on it on Twitter. Just assume that the regular things that are bad about a thing, about a movie, like the acting or the way it's shot or the story or the characters, or whatever, or all the boxes that need to be ticked in order for it to be good are not it. It's not like bad in an amazing way. If it were bad in like a fascinating way, like the Snowman, because part of it's just missing and it's interesting because of that, then that would be a topic. But some things are just kind of trash. Anyway, that is a thing I wanted to say. I have other things, but I feel like I've gone through my big topic, and we'll circle back to me if there's time. But Austin, I'm dying for your sweet content.
That's me. I'm Austin.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, that's how we transition on this show. We just say each other's names. No, it's great.
No, instead of having segues, we just say, "You go now." Mm-hmm. It is now your turn.
Thank you. I guess we'll talk more about Fargo when you finish season 3, because there's like some stuff I want to talk about that goes through all of the seasons. It's a very interesting show.
Yeah.
So recently I saw an article that said they were going to do an American remake of the Korean horror film Train to Busan. And I realized I had not seen that film, so I watched that. Have you guys seen it?
Hell yeah.
I have not, but that's never stopped us from talking about things in the past.
Yeah, it's not exactly a spoilable thing. It's a pretty straightforward kind of movie. It's a zombie movie, obviously. It's a South Korean film by someone whose name I cannot recall off the top of my head. We talk about a lot of South Korean films, at least, a lot compared to most Americans. But it feels like it's mostly Park Chan-wook or Bong Joon-ho, and I'm going to look up Train to Busan so I don't sound very dumb. Anyway, I watched this because I was like, why are they remaking this? It's like a very popular, acclaimed film, and we always talk about how you should remake bad films and make them better. And I watched it, and it's extremely good. I just looked it up. Directed by Yong Sang-ho is the man's name. I have not seen any of his other work, but this was a good movie. Leon, some thoughts before I get into the thing?
I sat down and watched it with a friend, and in my mind, I was like, I bet there's nothing new or fun or interesting or novel you could do with the zombie premise at this point. This might be okay. And then it's just like, I love everyone in it. I just love all the characters, to the point where it's like, oh, please don't die. I'm just like, no, not you. I can't remember I saw it when I first premiered on Netflix. So I think it might have been like a year or two ago. So I can't remember all the details or the character names, but I do know that, the schlubby dad kind of guy, he just kind of like, he was very likable.
Big Dad? There's main dad who's kind of a bastard, but then grows, and then there's Big Dad who fucking rules the entire movie.
I can't remember all the dads. I just remember
it's very dad heavy. It's a dadly film.
Yeah, he's just like a really like he tries real hard.
Yeah,
is what I'm.
We'll
trying
call
to
him
say.
Big Dad. I love Big Dad.
Big Dad's good. Yeah, I was feeling it throughout the whole movie. It doesn't give you a whole lot of time to rest. Mm-hmm. It's just like, the zombies are here and we have to keep moving because there are zombies. It's not like The Walking Dead where there's like a half an hour of being sad and then stuff happens.
I want to explicitly compare it to Walking Dead as we progress, but yeah, it's very much there's like a subgenre of Korean films about moving through a train. It's very much a thing, and there's very little downtime.
Yeah, I guess it's not. I know it's not entirely fair to compare this to The Walking Dead because this is a long-running television series, and this is a movie that's like 90 minutes long, I think. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing: I care so much more about everything that happened in Train to Busan than I think I ever cared about The Walking Dead, and we spend a lot of time building up these characters, and some of their heads explode, and it's a lot. But like everything, I don't know. There's just something. Can
I make an embarrassing admission here? This is a safe space where we can just be honest with each other. I still watch The Walking Dead.
No, that's fine.
I'm like caught up, so it's not good, and I don't know why. I feel like I need an intervention. If I had a guilty pleasure, we talked before, we don't like that term so much, but it's something where I'm like, well, I'm already invested. Fuck, I'll just tune in and watch them be like, man, you ever think about how the world is like messed up? Makes me sad. For like half an hour, and then just there's gratuitous violence. Some of the effects are okay, and then Negan's just like, look how handsome I am. So crazy, but also kind of dignified. That whole thing.
The thing about the characters in Train to Busan, it's not just that they don't have a lot of time to develop the characters. It is that they are characters who are just like nice people on a train who have to deal with this, and they're not all super nice about it, but they also just give like realistic reactions to how the people would deal with this. There's some like, well, maybe we should do this, and this morally questionable, but they don't spend a whole lot of time on it. It's just they're busy. They're too busy running from the zombies. The movie goes out of its way to create characters that you have to you immediately care about, because you only have so much time with them, and you have to want them to survive the zombies. So I don't know. I just it was a while ago. It's not fresh in my mind at all anymore. I just remember really liking it, and that's what was my general feelings about it.
Yeah, all the characters leave strong impressions, which is important. A lot of horror movies forget that you have to care about the humans before they get Freddy or Jasoned, and it's just like, look at these assholes, lol, they're dead, and it's like, I don't care, that's just boring as fuck. But I was like, oh, I love Baseball Nerd and his spunky girlfriend, I love Big Dad, I love shitty bad dad, I like the little kid, I hate the guy who is in charge of the train or whatever. He kills more people than the zombies. He's basically the villain. There's a guy, and I mean, on a subtextual level, the film has a lot to say about authority. There's a whole lot of like, oh, you see these broadcasts, and they're like, the government says there's no danger, please stay inside, and then you also see that is being overlaid to footage of carnage in the streets. And yeah, one of the most important authority figures is like one of the guy, I think he's not the president, but he's like on the board or something. He's an important person in the train company, and he just repeatedly gets people killed throughout the whole thing. And there's like, oh, the military fails them repeatedly. At every point, the people who are supposed to be in charge of society let down the average people. And it's like there is a lot going on there, in addition to the cool zombie stuff. And the hook of this, zombie-wise, right? Because every kind of zombie thing needs to distinguish itself. It's a very overcrowded field, but the zombies are extremely fast, and they contort a lot. So if you watch The Walking Dead, everyone kind of shuffles slowly, and then they just get mowed down by the hundreds. Like, The Walking Dead features like a zombie massacre every episode. They feel like they're made out of silly putty. There's basically no tension, because I know they can kill huge swarms of them. I don't know if they kill a single zombie in Train to Busan. Like, those things, they're so fast, and if you hurt them, all you do is twist their body into a cool shape that then mauls you to death. They're constantly like bending over backwards and getting their arms twisted around and shit, and it just makes them angry. They just stand no fucking chance, and it feels so much scarier and more dangerous because you can't fight them. You just can't. You can trick them, and that's how they kind of make it through most of the movie. But there's no part where like they set an ambush and, you know, Rick has snipers on the roofs and they just mow them down or whatever. And I think that gives it a way different feel than most other zombie stuff, is that zombies actually feel dangerous. So that's one of the coolest things. And yeah, the characters are great. I love some of the themes and stuff that are going on there. And it's a pretty sad movie because you like the people, and then the fucking invincible fast zombies get them. So I enjoyed it a lot. I am, once again, left with the question, why are we remaking this? Will Americans not read the subtitles? Presumably, yes. So
yeah. Also, the movie is so action heavy that it's like, it's not like there's so much like time, and this isn't like Waiting for Godot. You know, it's not that dialogue heavy. There is like important things said, yeah, but like it's fine. They're just words.
Yeah, they're not like soliloquies. That's mostly like, open the door. No, I'm too scared.
Right, it's okay. But yeah, I mean, I guess the idea is that well, why not? You know, we'll just put a little bit of money into it, and horror movies always do well in theaters. And then we'll definitely make our money back. But like, here's a fun idea: just buy the like American theater rights or something, release it like in American theaters, and not spend anything remaking the movie. I don't know. I don't know if it will do well, but could we at least try once? Could we just try once to do this? There are foreign films that are released in American theaters, but you have to go to like the special theater to see them.
The special theater.
Yeah, there's a special theater in my area. It's only 20 minutes away, and that's where I see foreign films and like old movies that they play. But it's not. None of this stuff is at like the Megaplex. You know,
yeah.
It's yeah.
I have a special theater as well.
Yes.
I have a couple, actually.
I don't know. Okay. I remember a story, and I won't say who this is because I don't want to embarrass this person. But a friend of mine has an uncle who is a perfectly decent person, but also no, he's a perfectly decent person. Period. Next topic about him.
End of sentence. New line.
This friend brought the uncle to see Pan's Labyrinth, and
I hate this story already.
And it ends well.
Okay.
The initial reaction by the uncle was, "I didn't know this was going to have subtitles." By the end of the movie, crying.
Oh, good.
Loved it. And that's the thing. Yeah, you will surprise some people who didn't know you were going into a movie that was have subtitles, because I guess you don't look into what the movie is before you go for some reason. But if your movie is good, especially if it's very action heavy, or has like amazing special effects like Pan's Labyrinth, it's that sort of like cultural divide, it can be crossed. Even by like the average schmo. I think.
Yeah, Pan's Labyrinth has 10 times the dialogue that Train to Busan has. Like, there's a lot of talking in that film. So
yeah, it's also just visually gorgeous though. So it's not like never mind. I don't want to call it any foreign movies. I like them. Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like it's doable, and people it's just not really tried anymore. There was a time when that occasionally did happen. I remember there was this brief period, and I think it happened right after Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon came out in theaters, where like a few other movies, there were just foreign action movies came out, and I saw one of them in the theaters. It was a French movie. I think it was called Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Yeah,
that was the English title. And I was like, okay, I'll go see this French action movie. I remember liking it well enough, but I also remember a bunch of people. I can't remember how I found this out, but I remember some people were upset that it ended up being a French movie with subtitles in it. And it's like, dude, like, do you not find out anything about the movie before you go in? I mean, I know I avoid trailers, but you should probably know if a movie is in French or not before you go see it. I don't know.
There was also that brief love affair that America had with Roberto Benigni. Life is Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, before our times, of course.
No, I hated that. But anyway.
No, I'm just saying, like there was this moment where America was like, "Hey, he's not speaking English, and that's okay."
I don't know if we ever said that. Last thing I'll say on this movie, though, is that very early it's established, like, oh, we're getting on a train, or we're going to Busan, and then zombies attack, and there's a part pretty early where they get off the train to Busan, and I was like, huh, that's a interesting choice in a movie called Train to Busan, and then zombies attack, and they immediately get back on the train to Busan. And I was like, oh, you got me.
It did.
And my fucking expectations were subverted.
Yeah.
So...
solid movie.
Yeah.
Really do recommend it.
Also, Pan's Labyrinth. Fuck, I need to rewatch that. It's so good.
It is. It's a very good movie. I had to rewatch it for an episode a year or so ago. It sure is good. Yeah. All right.
I got more, but you guys talk.
Yeah. Johnny, do you have any other
I am, well, very briefly, because we've talked about this for 2 weeks right now, I watched The Endless this last week.
Okay.
And it's one of those rare occasions where all three of us agree. You should watch this movie. It's very good.
They're gonna have to start paying us for PR.
I also started watching a spoopy.
What?
On Netflix, called The Haunting of Hill House.
Oh, I heard that was good.
That.
It's on the list.
Yeah. I haven't finished watching it yet, but I think I'm about 6 or 7 episodes deep, and it is good.
Yeah.
It's kind of unusual because it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it's a product of like the contemporary horror.
Mm-hmm.
Like it really seems to rely on suspense and dread a lot more than a lot of other horror that I'm seeing coming out these days. It's got some pretty amazing visuals. There's a particular ghost that gives me the heebie-jeebies. Something fierce. But it's like, so it's based on a book, right? And
Yeah.
for I think the first time in like several years or something like that, I'm really interested to see what the source material is like, because the structure of the show is so elaborate. Like it jumps back and forth between several main characters, both in like the present and the past, where like, many, many years ago, a family moves into this like old rickety mansion called Hill House, and one night something happens. And over the course of the series, you kind of get like perspective glimpses from like each one of the characters of what they remember from that night. Where it's like, the first time you see that night, it's like one of the characters, one of the kids, is asleep in his bedroom, and his dad just like busts down the door and is like, "We have to go," and then he like loads them into the car, where there's like a bunch, like all the other kids are already in the car, and then they like drive away, and you learn that like, the mother character dies that night. And everybody's like, yeah, she killed herself. Ooh. But then you're like, nah, there was a ghost. I saw one. And also the title of the show is The Haunting of Hill House. And then but then it'll like jump ahead, and then you see them like all as like older adults and things like that. Like, it's a very intricately woven show. And just excels at tension. Like, the suspense is so good, and like it's like I'm not even really sure I've had that scary moment payoff yet. I just feel like it just keeps building and building and building and building, and I just get tenser and tenser, and I'm just like, I'm waiting for something to happen. It's like, oh god, it's such a tease. Like, even its jump scares are slow. Where it's like a character will turn around and then somebody will be there, and it's like, something is very slowly happening in this scene.
I feel bad that I haven't read more Shirley Jackson. Like, it's something that's like, their reputation of like, the best, female horror writer of all time or whatever, or, in the conversation with like Mary Shelley. And it's like, they don't teach it in school. This is like the first high-profile adaptation that I'm aware of, been made aware of. Maybe that's on me. I should have worked harder. But it does feel like culture has kind of done her a disservice, and that's probably gendered.
She wrote maybe my favorite book, We Have Always Lived in the Castle. So if it's not my favorite book, it's like, it's really far up there.
It's incredible praise for it to be even in the conversation, so...
Yeah. It's very good. I'm kind of looking through her bibliography right now to see if I've read literally anything else. And no, I've only read one book from her, and it's somehow my favorite. And I've just never gone back and read anything else that she's ever done.
That's fucked up.
That's not true.
Like that.
Yeah, I just realized I also read The Lottery. Never mind.
Okay,
that's like a short story.
I don't read a lot of horror. Like, both of you are erudite Stephen King scholars.
Yes, I read one and a half of his books.
I read 75% of Gerald's Game. Like, that's my Stephen King allotment. Like, that's what I've done. Like, I don't think I've read like much horror at all, actually.
I used to read horror voraciously in high school, like even like the extremely bad stuff, just like anything I get my hands on. But yeah, there was a time when I could just say I've read every Stephen King book, and I missed a couple in the last half decade or so. So I can't say that anymore. But yeah.
So even though I'm only 6 episodes deep, I'm gonna say The Haunting of Hill House, thumbs up, absolutely. Get your Halloween on. And then when you think you see the ghost that gives me the heebie-jeebies, let me know, because he is a very frightening motherfucker.
All right. I also watched more Star Trek. Do you guys want to talk about that?
Always.
I don't mind.
Yeah, that feels like evergreen. So I finished. Okay, so here's the story. I was watching Deep Space Nine because that's the one that Leon is passionate about, and it's also the one that was like developing. Like there was, there's things in motion.
It has arcs.
Yeah, there was an episode I got to where Major Kira is basically supposed to evict someone from their land. It's kind of a eminent domain thing, and it feels like almost like ripped from the headlines of its day. And rather than the usual Star Trek ending, where everybody learns a lesson and there's a compromise, and someone turns to the camera and goes, "Maybe peace is the friends we made along the way," she just kind of
straight up fucks shit up.
Yeah, just like he's like the whole time he's like, "Maybe you're the real fascist," and at the end she's like, "Maybe, I don't know." The end. And I was like, damn, I'm really excited to see if they develop this. And so I was watching that, and then I got to an episode where Rumpelstiltskin showed up.
This is the worst goddamn one. First season. Oh.
And then I took a break from Deep Space Nine.
No, you're fine. No, you're completely justified. Tell me when and if you get to the end of Deep Space Nine season 1, because the second to last episode, Duet, is easily the best episode in the first season and among the best in the whole series. Uh-huh. And the season finale, you're like, okay, maybe this show doesn't suck. I don't know. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It was at that point that I realized I needed a little break, even though I was liking it, pretty much along the way. So I went back to Next Generation for a while. I actually finished the first season, so that's a
congratulations.
Kind of a milestone. Yeah, it is not great, but also I don't know if it's as bad as I was fearing. A lot of people say like it's a pretty accepted nerd fact that like, oh, Star Trek was bad until Riker gets the beard, right? That's the thing people say, and he has the beard now.
I guess.
So first things first, he's got the beard. It's fine. I like it. It's gonna take some getting used to.
It gets better.
Dr. Crusher's gone. That's weird.
She comes back.
I heard.
Yeah.
Whoopi Goldberg is there now.
Yeah.
I knew she was in it, but I had forgotten. I don't know why, but she showed up. I was like, ah! she did me a startle. Yeah. Then...
So you were surprised by Whoopi?
Yeah. And then the first episode of season 2 is one of the characters gets impregnated, and I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. That's, those are the worst episodes.
Yeah, that episode, oddly enough, was repurposed from a Star Trek series that never got made called Star Trek Phase 2. There were a bunch of scripts for it, and it just didn't get made, and they repurposed that script for Star Trek The Next Generation. And you can tell that this script is moldy and musty as fuck because it never should have been made. It is... it is antiquated by 80s standards.
Yeah.
It's some shit.
There's so much wrong with it. Like, I bet this is all very obvious to people who are familiar with Star Trek. I'm stating shit everyone's been talking about for 30 years, but fucking, there are no consequences to her being, like... I don't know if I want to use the word, but her body is hijacked in a fucked up way, and then she is like... I don't know. It's
pretty rapey.
Yeah, that's.
Let's be honest. It's pretty rapey.
And then they kind of make her okay with it in a gross way, and then it's just never brought up again. And it's also not even like the thrust of the plot. Like the episode is about there's like some dangerous stuff on the Enterprise that if it gets out, everyone's gonna die, and then it doesn't get out. The end.
Yeah,
it's everything about it is bad.
Yeah, it's not a beloved episode. Even
among
even
devotees to the Next Generation like myself.
But I heard it gets better when he gets the beard, and he has the beard, and it got worse. What happened?
It's not going to be. It's never. Look, Star Trek: The Next Generation is, and this is true of like any Star Trek, really, even the one that I like the most. It's not consistent every single episode.
It's not a straight line. Austin. This is
No.
not like a bell curve incline where it's like, oh, by the time we get to the last season, then surely every episode must be of the utmost standards. No, it's janky. It's a janky line. You'll get episodes in seasons 6 and 7 and things like that are like, what the fuck was that about?
Yeah, there are a lot of writers. It wasn't just like this one guy, it's like singular vision. There's just a lot of episodes, and they have to fill a lot. Even by network television standards, there were more, like most TV shows are 13 to 22 episodes or something along those lines. But Star Trek: The Next Generation and Voyager and Deep Space Nine, I think there are 26 episodes per season.
And not only that, but like it was made during a time and using a method that doesn't really happen that much anymore. Like these were purely syndicated TV shows. Like this wasn't ABC or NBC saying, "Oh, we're going to make a Star Trek show." Like Paramount made a Star Trek show and then kind of sold it off to networks. Like that was it. There was the only unified vision that they had was all like in studio. There was no like network executive standing there going, I don't know, this episode seems kind of rapey.
Yeah, you could say like the first couple seasons anyway. Gene Roddenberry was still alive, and he had like influence on the show and some of the things that he wanted to do. But even before he passed away, his influence started to wane. Like he originally had this mandate where there couldn't be any arguing or interpersonal problems among the crew, because in the future people just wouldn't do that. And the writers were like, "But we need drama."
Yeah.
Drama, it needs conflict, and sometimes that conflict has to come from within, not just from without. And he was sort of like adamant about that, and I forget exactly what changed his mind. It wasn't that he passed away; something changed his mind, or he lost power. Or something.
He did, like I don't want to say they did him a dirty, but basically, yeah, he started. They kind of took the show out of his hands. And that was sort of like the rise of Berman and Piller and later Ronald Moore, who would go on to do the Battlestar Galactica remake and things like that. So,
thank God for Ronald Moore. Let me just say.
Yeah. And then even like in Deep Space Nine and Voyager as well, we saw Hannibal. Ah, fuck.
I love that you guys know all these people's names. It's just it's impressive to me that you're just like, oh yeah, the Key Grip and the Best Boy got together and they did a thing.
Brian Fuller.
Johnny, I think you were Brian Fuller. You're trying to talk about
Brian Fuller, and Brian Fuller would come on to write some of the most iconic Star Trek episodes of all time. Actually, so
a lot of good stuff. You also had like old hands. I don't mean that in a bad like old, but like people who were like around for earlier Star Trek, like DC Fontana, and a lot of people put out some quality work. And a lot. The weird thing is about Star Trek: Next Generation, they accepted like script ideas like outside of their writer room.
Yeah, I was gonna just talk about this. This is a plot point in Mad Men. That one of the characters writes a spec script for Star Trek, and it's apparently very bad. That's the joke in Mad Men, but that's a real thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the episode, I won't spoil it exactly, but like there's a later season Star Trek: The Next Generation episode that I remember offhand was definitely one that just came out of nowhere. It's one in which two characters are like their minds are linked together and they can hear each other's thoughts. And that sounds kind of corny, but they handle it really well, and it leads to some stuff.
If this is the episode that I'm thinking of, it appeared out of nowhere, and it was like, wow, this is actually really good.
Yeah, that just happened back then, which also explains why things are inconsistent, but it also just gives you some really cool stuff too that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Sometimes, and this is so fucking geeky. Occasionally there are like tons and tons of like early drafts of Star Trek episodes from all the seasons that just never got made. Either an outline of it was made, or a full script was made, or just an idea was pitched, and they're like dozens and dozens of these things that get shot down, and I read about them sometimes because memory alpha is a thing, and and there's like, oh, that would have been interesting, and sometimes, oh, that would have been stupid. So yeah, there were like tons and tons of competing ideas for what should be on Star Trek. It's kind of amazing that so many bad episodes got made when there were so many options out there. You can only imagine the dreck that did not get made. Anyway, yeah, but I'm glad you're mostly liking it, Austin.
Yeah, I think there's a lot I could talk about, but we have limited time, so there's just one. Actually, it's a pair of episodes I want to bring up real quick that I found intriguing. Okay. I was led to believe that there was basically no continuity in this show, but there is they're not back to back, but there's 2 episodes that do contain kind of a single story.
There are, like, there's touch points, right? Like there's things that they kind of revisit every now and again, right? But like one of the things about the Next Generation is almost never will you get dropped into an episode and be like, what's going on?
Yeah, they always say back to the status quo.
In Deep Space Nine, yeah, like especially in like season 5 or something like that, you just like throw somebody into an episode, be like, what?
No, you have to watch this shit. But yeah, what are the episodes you're talking about, Austin?
So I don't remember the name of the first one, but it's one where the plot is someone comes to inspect the ship, and Picard is just a real fucking asshole to them for some reason. And he's just real uppity about the thing. They're like, hey, we have to inspect your ship. We think something's wrong. And he's like just really belligerent about it. And then Riker's really belligerent about it. And it was a bad look for everyone. But at the end of the episode, the guy in charge of this says, like, I just had to make sure you were on the up and up because there's a conspiracy afoot.
Oh, yeah, that leads into like this season finale. Yeah, that's true. I forgot about what you were talking about. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like the second to last episode. The last episode was a bad one where they just kind of fly around for a while and then they run into a Romulan ship and they're like, we're back, and then it just ends. I don't understand what that was trying to convey. I guess just that the Romulans were back.
I don't remember what happened immediately leading up to the Romulans being back, but the fact that the Romulans being back is becomes a thing later on. It's a lot of like Cold War, like we're spying on you, but we can't say it, and are we going to go to war or not, kind of stuff. That, well, I won't spoil.
Yeah, I'm not saying that has no importance, but it seemed like just the fact they were back was supposed to be this bombshell reveal, and I was just like, you're one of like a dozen Star Trek species I know. It's not that interesting.
I know, but like with the exception of the Klingons, the Romulans were positioned in the original series as like the enemy of the Federation, and now like in the Next Generation, where it's very much made clear that the Klingons and the Federation are on pretty good terms, and there's like a Klingon on the bridge. There's only one nemesis out there that we know of, and we're back.
It's Star Trek Nemesis, the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That.
But the second part of the conspiracy thing is that episode is just called Conspiracy. I know that off the top of my head.
Yeah.
It's a very strange episode that's not really like any of the other ones. It turns out that the person who warned of the conspiracy has been taken over by an alien brainworm, which is a recurring thing in Star Trek that happens like once a season, where someone gets an alien brainworm. It happens in Wrath of Khan.
Was even a major plot point in one of its most beloved movies.
Yeah.
Yep.
And their master plan is to invite Picard to a dinner, send away all of their security, and then just sit together with the 6 masterminds and their brainworms. And it goes extremely badly for them. I don't know how they got so far. And the episode ends with Picard, who ends every other episode saying like, who are we to judge who lives and who dies? And he just lights this motherfucker up.
Straight up wastes a dude.
His body explodes.
And not just any dude, but like, a very, like, a dignified, like, highly ranked dude.
Yeah, a character with like a name and a backstory who we've seen twice now. And he just fucking explodes. And it's gory.
Yeah.
Like, if it was a horror movie, I wouldn't be shocked. But for Star Trek, I actually was, by comparison, shocked. Like, I was like, whoa, what the fuck?
I still, having seen that when I was a much younger boy, that scene is, like, there's a cave painting on the back of my skull. on the inside. It's like, hey, remember that?
I can kind of see it now just thinking about it, yeah.
I would love some insight beyond about this.
Yeah, look, it's gross. The weird thing about Captain Picard is people say that what you just said, Austin, that like during the series, he's this guy and like he never wants to use force. It's always like a last resort, and even then he's hesitant.
And then in First Contact, he just straight up whips a Tommy gun out and like wastes a bunch of dudes on the holodeck.
Right, and people are like, well, this isn't my Picard. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? People do get kind of crabby when they get older. And also he's dealing with, like, post-traumatic stress that he didn't fully deal with before.
Yeah, that was an awesome scene. I'm not looking down on that.
Yeah, the problem, I guess, people have with movie Picard is that he continues on that way. In subsequent movies, he does kill other people, and he seems like an action star when he doesn't need to. Mm-hmm. But like I feel you, but also I can absolutely, and I'm not defending most of those movies because most of them are bad. But just like purely from like a fanboy perspective, like I don't want it to bother me that much. Partly because of like reaction to people flipping their shit about Luke Skywalker taking a turn, but also just as if this were real and not like a fictional character who we have to preserve. If this were real, I absolutely believe that this guy got older and got shittier. That's just a thing.
People change, man.
Yeah, that's a thing. And if you have to explain why Picard was like that in that one episode, look, sometimes people do things that are a little out of character, and you're like, "Whoa, that was weird, dude. You're not normally like this." And you ever had a friend like do something kind of shitty?
I consider myself to be a peaceful person, right? But if some dude is straight up just like, "Hey, have a brain worm," I'm like, "No, fuck that."
You'll karate kick his skin off.
I will karate kick his fucking skin off. Like, just right off his face.
Yeah. If someone, like, I think we've all been in a situation where, like, a friend does something weird and out of character, and then you have to explain to your other friend who has never met the first friend. They're like, they're not usually like this. Sorry. There's a moment like that, and this was Picard's moment. The real answer is that the writing is inconsistent, and it has to be, and especially in the first season where they were still trying to figure out just who Captain Picard really is. But if you need a headcanon reason why Captain Picard acted a little out of character in one episode,
he had enough shit.
Because he's a fucking human being, and he made a snap decision. There's even Data episodes like that where you're like, this is a little out of character for Data, but you know what? He's growing, and as he becomes more human, he will make mistakes. So yeah. Anyway,
I just love how bad the alien brainworm's plan was. It just no fucking backup at all. Also, speaking of out of character stuff, it's wild to me that the second episode of the entire series, if you count the two-parter as one episode, the second episode is everyone gets infected by something that makes them act out of character. What the fuck is that? What's that supposed to convey to an audience who's only seen these dudes once?
I mean, I think the real answer to that is they didn't know what order they were going to be in, and then someone decided. Yeah, this isn't like TV shows now. They didn't necessarily know what the order was going to be, and someone said, you know what, this is an episode that will grab people because it's hot, I guess, and it will remind people of the original series episode that was basically the same thing.
Literally, yeah.
So that I bet that was part of it.
I read about this. Apparently, some people think, like, I don't know if it's been confirmed, but like critics have posited that the episode was meant to, in part, basically reassure the audience that Tasha Yar and Data were straight because they are not stereotypically gender conforming. Tasha is kind of is a tomboy and Data is effeminate, essentially. And they hook up, and it's never mentioned again. So it's kind of like, here's our characters. You don't know them. They're going to act not in the way that people usually perform gender, but it's fine because they will fuck. I don't know how much of that was subconscious. I assume it wasn't like they set out to do that on purpose, but it has been pointed out that was an effect that it had.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Gene
Roddenberry had some weird ideas about sex.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to mention the episode I saw where it's a matriarchy and the woman just is overcome with lust for Riker because yikes.
Yeah. She's got to have it. He's got to have that Riker. Riker is like I wouldn't say sexually aggressive, but he is extremely flirtatious with a lot of people. So, but that you learn a bit more about that as seasons go on. So in the first season, where someone's just like, it's like, which was her exact words. It's kind of like a fun reversal. I don't remember loving that episode, but whatever.
It wasn't as bad as it could have been. It wasn't like the Planet of the Black People episode, but it was definitely like, we are the woman planet. Everything here is great, and we don't like men because they're very dumb. And Riker's but look at my butt though. And they're like, oh, the error of our ways. Oh, how could we have been so blind? That's like how they're defeated, basically.
Yeah. Just check out the support in the dangle zone.
Shit. I do want to. We're basically out of time. Before you get into questions, I do want to address Tasha Yar, who sadly did not make it to the end of the first season. R.I.P. What the fuck?
Yeah, the real reason is she wanted out.
Yeah.
She didn't think that the show was good for her, or that the writers had a lot for her, and she bailed out.
I mean, she was totally right, because they never give her anything to work with. But go on.
I know it's the first season. There isn't a great deal of development in general. I definitely understand, but like it has basically been said, I'm pretty sure by her, that she regrets that. Because like this was a huge series, and like all I mean,
a lot of people forget that when Star Trek: The Next Generation came back to television, it was still kind of like a weirdly untested idea. We didn't have like the Sci-Fi Network or the Space Network or anything like that. Like you'd get an episode of Hill Street Blues, or like fucking NYPD Blue or something like that, and then it would just be like, hey, welcome to space, we fuck.
But also, I mean, the original Star Trek struggled to stay on air, and they couldn't make the second thing. Like, it was never a ratings slam dunk, and I mean, obviously in hindsight, she would have liked to collect 6 seasons of paychecks and like several movies, but like at the time, she might have just typecast herself as being on a bad nerd show that failed.
A lot of people were really, really reluctant to do it, including Patrick Stewart. He has famously gone down in history as trying to reconcile being Captain Picard. It's only been in the last few years, actually, like the last 5 to 7 years or something like that, where he was like, wow, I left an impression on a generation of people. I had an iconic role of a lifetime, and actually being able to embrace that.
I've heard that about Leonard Nimoy.
Nobody was prepared to know where Star Trek was going to go. Like, it's real easy for us to say now, like, oh, well, there was The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and Voyager and Enterprise and Discovery. It was not the tent pole back then that we recognize it is now.
Yeah. There's thing about being a Star Trek actor is that's usually the thing you're known for if you're in the main cast. But and that sounds bad if you wanted to do a lot more, but at the very same time, you have a job for life now.
Yeah.
Because there will always be conventions that will give you money just to show up. You're never going to be working like a 9 to 5 ever again. Unless you want to. I'm not like shitting on 9 to 5s, but like if your thing is to be a celebrity, if you do Star Trek, like you're good. Like the guy who plays fucking Barclay has a job for life, and he was just a supporting character. Like it's fine. You haven't met Barclay yet.
I don't know who that is. I was just thinking.
Great.
No, it's okay.
You'll have lots of fun.
Okay.
Oh, Barclay.
I mean, Kate Mulgrew and obviously Whoopi Goldberg are probably the only people I think of who have like big shows on TV right now out of the cast. But
Patrick Stewart has had a very illustrious career.
Of course,
that's true. Like Patrick Stewart and like to the tiniest. Is William Shatner considered someone who had a good career after Star Trek? Because he did do a lot.
Yeah, he's had a prolific career. I don't know if you'd necessarily say that it was spotless.
Quantity over quality, maybe.
Well, I mean, T.J. Hooker was okay.
Colomini ended up doing a lot of movies, especially in the UK and in Ireland. Okay, we've talked about this a lot, and I love it, but we also should probably do questions.
Jonathan Frakes is also a very accomplished television director, actually.
Yeah. He transitioned to behind the camera, and that's cool. I'm into that.
Yeah.
Plus. Yeah.
So we can get a question. So last thing real quick. So we talked about why Tasha Yar left. What did you think about the execution? Because I'm extremely over the alien who is basically immortal gods that happens every 3 episodes. Literally the last one I watched is one where they go into a black hole and there's a face and he's like, look what I can do. And one of the characters just dies from god powers.
Yeah. It gets old fast.
Yeah, she didn't die in like a cool way where, you know, the character like sacrifices themselves to like save the crew or anything like that. She just kind of falls.
God powers. It just gets god powers.
Yeah. The black goo just kind of like pushes her over, and not even in like a big dramatic way. She doesn't fall off a cliff. She like stumbles. It looks like.
Yeah, she does. You know, she does half a somersault.
I almost like it in theory because the whole character is just like cruelty for cruelty's sake. It's like not like it has a world takeover plan or it has some kind of twisted ideology. It's just kind of a petulant little shit.
It's an asshole.
Yeah,
and it almost works that how senseless the death is, just because like that's what defines the villain. It's just that the voice acting on it's weird and the costume isn't great, and it just they don't pull it off. So.
It's goo. I mean, what costume? I don't even remember.
It rises up into like a human form.
Oh,
ish.
All right. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's not.
Somebody puts a sticky blanket on someone.
Yeah.
All right.
For some people, cruelty is the point. And like, I mean, fair. I guess you can have your black goo episode. I just sure wish like it had built to that instead of her just like getting like completely destroyed like 10 minutes into the episode.
She got iced pretty quick.
Yeah, we did get a funeral scene, and that was pretty good. And Data was, I guess I can't say sad, but Data was contemplative.
No, I think you could say Data was sad.
Okay. All right.
Because they boned.
Oh yeah. I mentioned it literally 5 minutes ago and I already forgot. All right, here comes a question from Cyratha. We're on Halloween name time, boys. At LS Blackwood on Twitter. Leon, in light of the 1,000th episode of SmackDown, do you think Batista will return to WWE? Parentheses. Wrestling.
Yeah, Batista's been angling for one more match with Triple H at WrestleMania for a long time now. For some reason, WWE has not been interested, and that is like insane because Batista is like a huge Marvel star.
Now he's a DC star.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, we'll see. But anyway, he's been wanting it for a long time. I can only assume it has something to do with the fact that WWE doesn't always like it when people can succeed outside of themselves. They do bring back The Rock though, and I mean when he's
you should only be able to succeed when you're drowning in Saudi Arabia money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Batista's wanted it for a long time. Based on the fact that Batista said, I want Triple H because you can't beat me, like on the air, and he was supposed to say that. Like he's like, oh, they obviously have reached terms, or they're sincerely talking about it. They don't say that unless I mean the show it's not real, so they're not going to say it unless they were working on it. So yeah, I assume he will come back for one more match at WrestleMania. I don't know who wins that match because typically when like Leon, when something
we all do,
when someone two people are having a match at WrestleMania and one is clearly just there, it's almost certainly going to be their last match. You're like, oh, then this person is going to lose because that's what you're supposed to do in the business. You put over the other guy, but. In a case like Batista versus Triple H, this could theoretically be both their last matches. Triple H wrestles like a few times a year, like on special occasions, I guess.
Christmas, Thanksgiving, anniversary, birthday.
He can't do it forever though. He wants to, clearly. But at some point he has to stop. I'm not sure people want to see Triple H beat Batista though. people want to cheer for Batista. They like him, or they like Drax.
Do you think they're just threatened by the fact that he can actually act?
Personally,
yeah,
I am a fan of Sapper Morton. Thank you very much.
He when he was leaving, and he wanted to do movies, he was getting called up to do the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and someone, I'm not sure if it was Triple H, but I think it might have been, someone famously told him that the movie was going to flop and that he should just still be a wrestler. And of course, that movie it made like $1 billion or something. It overperformed, if anything. It exceeded expectations, and now he just gets acting.
Man, if only there was like a director that could have been responsible for how good the script was and like getting the right cast and things like that, and just.
The point is, there's like some sour grapes on WWE's, and they don't ever like to be proven wrong. That's a thing for them. If someone is popular and it wasn't their decision, they don't like that. That's not even a joke.
I know, it's almost too convenient the way they constantly reflect the neuroses of like toxic masculinity.
There's a million famous examples. The one that I always come back to when the topic of how dare you succeed is, and it's so nothing. There was a Royal Rumble, I think, and Paul London is a wrestler, and he was supposed to be eliminated. You get tossed over the top rope and you fall, and that's it. It's not a big deal. But Paul London is just like a really good athlete. He's kind of like acrobatic. So when he got tossed over, he like did like a full body flip or something, and it looked really good. He looked good getting eliminated. It was really cool, and the people in the production truck were like, "Show a replay of that. Show another replay of that. That was so cool." And he went to the back, and Michael Hayes, who was like an old wrestler who eventually got like a backstage job, said he said something along the lines of, "That was good, but the problem is it was too good." And it got him a lot of heat backstage because he had the audacity to look good for half a second when he was not. They didn't instruct him to do a somersault. They just told him, lose.
Yeah, I mean, this was obviously no Stone Cold Steve Austin's illustrious movie career with WWE movies.
Yeah, the point is, WWE is very covetous, I guess you could say, of its talent, and also very controlling. And when people are popular and they didn't want them to be popular, they instead of turning into the skid, they just keep turning away from it. Or if the guy they want to be popular is not popular, they'll just keep doing it. It's just
it's all ego. It just reminded me, like, as you were telling that story, of just like the fact that Obamacare actually came out of like the conservative think tanks, like that market solution for healthcare. It's basically their idea, but it was Obama's accomplishment, so they had to hate it, even though Obama would have preferred actual single payer, although that's a more complicated topic. But it's just like, no, it was your idea, so we have to hate it. It doesn't matter. We would have proposed the same thing, or we purport to have the same ideas about how to solve the problem. You did it, so it's bad, and if we do it, it's good. And it's just like, it's the absolute intractable ego of these rich men. Yeah. Sucks a big one.
It is. It does. I guess the other famous example is Zack Ryder. He's like a jobber, and then he basically said, "You know what? I'm going to try to get over with the crowd." And he created a YouTube channel where he would do little skits, and people loved it. He just did little skits, and there were like little jokes, and people started like cheering for him at arenas because it was the internet age and everyone was watching his channel. And WWE, instead of saying, "Oh, let's make some money off of this," they were like, "No." For years, and he never really got elevated much, except he briefly had like a mid-card kind of run, but mostly he remains like a nobody. And I'm not trying to shit on him. I'm not calling him nobody for that reason. I'm saying that they did not utilize him correctly. And there's like a million stories like that. I could go on all night, but we should probably move on to another question.
I just imagine whatever the psychology is that produces the kind of person who would amass that kind of power, that controlling aspect, would just lend you to that behavior. It's like the same reason that the people who seek the highest offices are often craven monsters. It's because you'd have to have that kind of drive to succeed to get that high. So it's just like, it's a self-perpetuating problem. Anyway, new question. Cody Ralston, Sad Skeleton Boy, at Cody L. Ralston on Twitter asks, do you think Harry Potter still holds up? Between Rowling's bullshit and the inexorable passage of time, I've been listening to the audiobooks lately, and grown-up me is seeing some problems. Third grade me didn't.
I never got into Harry Potter, so I'm going to leave this to the experts.
I read the first book, and I've seen all the movies, so I can't speak to the books very well.
You've read them recently, though, so you have an adult's perspective.
I read the first one recently, literally just the shortest one, which is not. There's like 7,
yes.
Right? Okay, but it's not. But because I've only read the first one, I haven't read a 7th of Harry Potter. Because the other ones are so
huge. It's exponential,
but
not linear. The increase in length.
Yeah. Right, that's what I mean. But anywho, the first one, I thought it was fun. Basically, I can't remember all the details. I'm sure there were moments where I was like, "That's not for me," but I can barely remember like moments like that. I thought it was fun enough. I can't really speak to a lot of it. The movies are like a mixed bag. I think what the person is trying to talk about is problematic aspects of it. But you're going to have to hit me with some examples because.
What about the fact that all the banks in the world are run by a single race with huge noses?
Yeah, I feel
clowns.
They're also
yes, clowns.
Stop. There also is not a lot of diversity, I guess you could say.
Except on Twitter, where she has confirmed that there is secretly.
Yeah. She's like, I never said Hermione wasn't black.
Yeah. You know what would be cool, J.K. Rowling? Instead of pretending that things were other things, you just write new books that have really diverse casts and really like new ideas. And you're like, this is the new shit.
We're just going to dunk on her every couple weeks now. One of the things that always stuck out to me was how incompetent the government is in the series and how the only person that can save them is a chosen white boy. And that obviously is a trope as old as time, the chosen one. But rereading it, I like that a lot less. In fact, I'll just say, like, I read them all when they came out, like, immediately. And I loved them all as a kid. And then I read them as an adult, and I was much more pretentious when I reread them. So a lot of it was just me like, what a pedestrian choice. So, like...
It's very often.
Yeah, honestly, I was kind of a jackass around that time, and so I don't even trust that version of my reading. So I feel like if I read them again, I would have like a synthesis where I was like, oh, I love the childlike whimsy, and also some of this is bad. So that's probably the rightest answer. I'm sorry, horseshoe theory, got you. Both sides are wrong. But yeah, there's a lot of amateurish bad shit, and there's also just a lot of wonderful stuff in there.
Yeah. I don't really know what to say about the love potions.
Yikes, right?
So
I know it's a thing, right? She didn't make that up, but also yikes.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff. There's also like some kind of like never mind. I don't want to get into that because it's just going to open up a can of worms. And I don't remember it well enough, and I'm pretty sure like Potterheads will get on me if I say it wrong. Yeah, forget it. Next question, please.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Here's one from Purpley Orange at Purpley_Orange on Twitter. Will there be a return of Law Corner? I haven't done Law Corner in a long time, and actually,
I was literally thinking about that earlier today.
Yeah.
Like, when are we getting Law Corner?
I got multiple questions on this. So it's a kind of a double whammy. On one hand, most of my recent law stuff has been either extremely boring, that I just don't have the skills to make it interesting on a podcast, or extremely depressing. Just like the cops can kill you whenever they want. There are no consequences. And unless you can hire a more expensive lawyer than the other guy, you will lose any civil case. You just will. And that's not really fun to talk about on our comedy podcast. So that's one thing. The other thing is I'm almost done with law school, and I'm in a weird place now because basically the last thing I need to do to graduate is do an internship or an externship. I need that 6 credit hours of that. It's a big commitment, and I've kind of reached a crossroads in my career. We're at the end of the episode. Maybe I'll just get real. Like,
okay.
I have to decide if I'm going to be an adult soon. Like, I'm 27, so I probably should have done this a while ago. But I love podcasting. I bring joy to thousands of people every week, and it's the most fulfilling and satisfying thing I've ever done.
And also me.
And also Jotty. I would love to do this full time, and if I take the internship and externship stuff I need, I'm not going to be able to. It's a full-time commitment. I'm not going to be able to do this anymore, and I'm going to lose everything I've built. It's just going to happen that way. And I part of me wants to put it off. I want to try to do this as long as I can before I blow it up and then go do a normal job.
Yeah, they're not much fun.
And also just the longer I stay in doing all that, it's like, guys, I have tens of thousands of dollars of debt now. It's very dire. Yeah. So there's all these pressures on me, right? Right now that I'm thinking about. And part of me wants to put it off and not finish and try to podcast for as long as I can before we move on to the next thing after podcasting. I assume Smell-O-Vision is how you will get your news and video game reviews soon. But also I know that's probably not financially wise and also mature. Like, I probably should go be a lawyer and stop this, but I don't want to. And so I don't know. I probably should have been talking about this more. One of the bullet points of Word Funk is that we just are honest about our feelings in life. But I've been hesitant to talk about this because it's been weighing on me over the last couple months.
I have a question. You can tell me to shut up. No, because it's like it's not always a cool question to ask people. Do you make enough doing Dice Funk that you could do that could sustain you for a while?
It's a close shave. Like, I've published before, like, my expenses and stuff. And right now,
I haven't read that. That's why I don't know.
Yeah, I do updates. I should do one more on Patreon soon, but I can live. It will be close though, especially because I have to start paying the loans back and stuff. So it's like at a point where if I don't finish law school and become a lawyer and I just podcast full time, I will be on the utter edge of precarity for decades. Like, just like if I have a bad month and a couple people like pull out or something, like, that's it. I'm not going to be able to pay rent. It's like that close. So it's like, if this was an easy decision, I would have made it already. Obviously, like, the point.
You
is
can always come live
close.
with me, Austin.
Oh, bunk beds.
And we could buy as much weed as possible, and
nice.
just
there you go.
Live the life.
We just do a podcast where we review one Star Trek episode every episode while high.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of anybody that would want to listen to that.
Yeah.
There's got to in my mind, like, I want you to be able to have your cake and eat it too.
Wouldn't that be so good?
So I know. That's Is there literally no way you could do any kind of podcasting while also doing a full-time job? Because I'll tell you something. I did when I was a teacher. I still did show redacted for like consistently.
Show
like, every
deleted
week.
from history.
Right. And it was awful because I didn't have any time and I was miserable.
You're really selling me on it.
Yeah.
This is the point. I was miserable for years because I was doing my content on the internet and I also had two jobs. So I was basically working the equivalent of two full-time jobs with all of those three combined because none of them were full-time completely. Mm-hmm. And it sucked for a long time. But the point was, and this is like this is getting into like shitty Protestant work ethic stuff that I know Austin hates. But my feeling was, or maybe it's a little Catholic because my feeling was, if I just suffer long enough, I will have the things that I want. And I do now.
I mean, he suffered on the cross.
You know,
it's the least you could do.
Right. So yeah, that was my feeling at the time. The point I'm trying to make, if it's you know, there is a third option where you suffer.
I could do law and word funk, right? Because this is just an hour and a half of us talking.
Word funk doesn't give you any.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm just describing to you my time stuff. I could not keep Dice Funk at the quality level it's at. It takes a lot of planning. There's more recording, and there's so much more editing. It takes several full days of editing to get it at the quality level.
Oh, really?
It's at.
You would probably have. You'd probably have to hire.
I mean, even then,
I didn't even realize that aspect of it. Jesus.
Every episode's like an hour and a half long, and I go through second by second on all 5 tracks.
Jesus Christ. Word funk is just us talking. It's done in the amount of time that it took us to record it. Just about. But yeah, this is basically nothing. This whole show. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I hadn't really considered quite that aspect of it. That sucks.
I mean, I love doing it. It's just that hard. It was basically as much as I could handle doing that and law school. Doing actual law, either I will be committing malpractice in the amount of effort I give to one career, or there will be a marked drop in quality on the show that is the most important artistic endeavor of my life.
Yeah, my brother-in-law is currently going through the same problem right now at law school. He does law at UBC, and, you know, I have an almost 2-year-old nephew. And my sister works in a lab that actually tests for, drumroll please, cannabis purity. So she's been busy as fuck, what with the roll-up, to today, and like they live with my mom. And if they didn't live with my mom, I don't know what the fuck would happen to my nephew.
Yeah, my brother has 2 jobs. He works like 80 hours a week, and he still has to have like my dad is he's on my dad's car insurance and stuff. Like, you can grind all you want, and it's just never enough, and it fucking sucks.
I feel so bad for like you guys as a nation.
Yeah.
Like other option, you could literally hire someone and share the profits for your show to be the editor of the show, whereas you just do the planning and DMing of it. That's not.
If I was more popular, if I had the money to hire somebody, I would just do podcasting full time.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're working as a lawyer, right?
No, what I'm trying to say is that like I know you don't have a lot of money to throw around. I'm saying like you hire someone on the basis of you will make this percentage of the show for a while, and then when you make it, you fire that guy.
Ruthless, dude.
Sorry.
Detail, don't tell them that beforehand.
Yeah, just say this is not a permanent position. This might go on for a few months or potentially longer. Are you okay?
Leon would like to announce his new business venture, Telltale Rockstar. It's a joint studio effort.
Look. There's a difference between someone working full-time 80 hours a week and getting suddenly laid off, and a freelance worker who knows that this is just temporary. That's what freelance is. I know.
It's just, it's rough onions. It's just very rough.
I know. I'm just saying there are freelance people out there who will do your show, and you won't make as much money off of it, but you will also be working full time as a lawyer, so you won't need that. This will just sustain your show for a while as it grows, and then you can decide what to do with it down the road. There is a third option in here where you just do less work on the show, but it still maintains its quality by sharing the profits with someone else who can do it for you. That is what companies do.
Or you drop the amount of time of the show. Make it 30 minutes a week.
Have you guys ever heard the show? We would literally be like, all right, welcome to this episode. What do you guys want to do? Okay, we're halfway through that conversation. See you next week.
Yeah, I was there.
That's what I'm saying.
I seem to recall having been there at least once myself as well.
The format is not conducive.
No.
Yeah.
A 30 minute D&D show would be tough beans.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's anyway. There, like I said, the third option doesn't sound amazing, but it's actually there to at least consider. As unappealing as all options are, that still, it's not the worst. I'm not sure which is the worst. In my mind, the worst is just having like a 9-to-5 because I would hate that. But I also there are
don't make me feel bad about my life.
Look, I did that for years and years and years, and let's face it, I probably will again. This isn't gonna last forever.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I have to think is like, listen, I know I'm not going to be a professional podcaster in my 60s. First of all, I'm not going to live that long. But even if I did, if I don't finish it now, I'll just go back when I'm done podcasting. Like, I'm not going to cut off this branch forever. It's just about like, what am I going to do for the next couple years?
Yeah.
As much as I love my show and I want it to be the thing that I'm doing when I'm 80, I could change my mind about that. But right now, I want it to be the thing I do forever. There's just no telling what technology is going to do.
I still think that you guys, the three of us, should do a show where we travel around the world to like the most haunted locations, like haunted, like, palaces, hotels, towns, whatever, and then just like do other stuff that has nothing to do with the ghosts. Be like, here we are, the most haunted hotel in all of Massachusetts, so we're going to check out the local burger joint and see if their fries are any good.
It's a solid idea.
It's called the haunted places we'll ignore.
Precisely.
Yeah. I think about this kind of thing from time to time, and I'm dreading it. Basically, I love what I do now. This is the thing I suffered for, and I would hate to lose it. But it also just seems inevitable that I will. Not due to like having a meltdown on social media and all of a sudden everyone unsubscribes to my because everyone knows how like sassy I am at this point. I'm not going to lose too many subscribers over that. But I just mean like something will change, like Patreon will go under, and like there isn't a better one that comes along, or YouTube will get bought, and it just won't be. I won't be able to do the show that I do anymore, and it'll just kind of peter out, and I'll have to be a teacher again. But maybe that's not true, because sometimes people have their dream job, like they become like a director or an actor or something, and they just do it until they're Paul Newman.
God, what if we both end up being Paul Newman? That would be so sweet.
Yeah, the point is, not everyone retires. I hate the idea of retiring. So like, I don't know. I just kind of want to do this or something like this or better forever, but we'll see how that shakes out. I realize this is not helpful to you.
No, it's good. I like that we have this talk. I was also does it ever just strike you as you're going about your day, just making soup or whatever, that like if it weren't for a couple hundred people or however many people support you, you would just be dead? Like that's the difference between you and the grave.
Yeah, that's not as strange as that sounds. That's also true of like any small business who has only a couple hundred employees or something. Well, a small business with
clients,
a small business. Yeah. That's actually like super.
Yeah, I'm framing it strangely. It hit me earlier though. I was just in my kitchen doing dishes, and I was like, "Oh God, if I piss off just an auditorium full of people, I'm just dead on the street." That's so much. It's just too much.
Yeah. There's a thing on Patreon. I don't know if everyone knows about this. When people leave your Patreon, sometimes they leave, like when you're removing yourself from Patreon, someone's thing, it says, why are you leaving? And there's a bunch of list of reasons. And you can click other and write a note. And I didn't realize this until a few days ago when someone shared theirs. I was like, oh, I can do that. So I looked through years of people leaving my Patreon, because people come and go, and that's fine. You're not expected to do this forever.
How many times did the word cuck come up?
That's the weird thing. There were very few specific comments. I think I left a specific comment. Yeah, there were most of the things were like my financial situation changed, and I might come back. And some were like directed towards me, and I feel weird that I didn't read them until now. And one of them said, I left because he insulted my religion. And I would really like to know which video they watched.
And what religion that was.
And what religion that was, so I can go back and say, oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't actually trying to insult, your religion. I was, just trying to provide some critique of, this and that. And, I wasn't trying to, make you feel like shit because, I don't know, you're a Christian. I have Christian friends. Austin's technically one.
That technically is doing so much work.
I know. Right, it's fine. It's not a big deal. And I feel like I try really hard in my episodes that discuss religion, even though, I'm a person of doubts.
Aren't we all?
I have absolutely no doubt, Austin.
Okay. The point is, I try to approach, with the rare exception of things like prosperity gospel or things that are just objectionably just terrible. I try to approach talking about religion on the show with the idea that I'm speaking of it with the same reverence that someone who actually believes in it would give it, but also thinking critically. That way, I won't be like a shitty YouTube atheist about it.
If anything, you put more thought into it than a lot of people who would be upset by the analysis would.
But yeah, I was kind of irked by that a little, not because my opinion sometimes when people say unsubscribe is I don't care, fuck off. It's whatever. My life will go on. But if someone said that, I'm oh shit, I actually tried really hard not to do that. Damn. So anyway, if I insulted your religion, let me know in the comments. That'll be a robust conversation.
Yeah.
I don't like to think I go after a particular religion, unless that religion is Scientology, in which case I'm not going after so much your belief in it, so much as I am the organization. Your beliefs are not actually
Leon,
that much stranger.
Let's be honest.
Oh my god.
He's gonna think long and hard about whether to cut that out.
Anyway, we've gone on way longer, and I had so much more, too. But we have to stop.
Yeah.
I'll save my thoughts on the American Music Awards for next week, which is a thing that I watched for Austin because I wanted to...
Yeah.
Because I wanted
Those
to
are the
give
podcast
a real...
laws.
deep dive into pop music right now because Austin knows about things like that. And I was my thing with Kanye listening to 2 minutes of a song was pretty hard trolling. I put effort into this, and I have thoughts, but we will save that for next time when it's completely in the distance and no one's thinking about it anymore.
All right.
Any final thoughts before we go?
I got another question here from Trevsky at Trevsky the Third on Twitter, who says, "Hey Austin, could you give me a primer on Dice Funk and where to start watching? I've never seen it before." So real quick, in case this information hasn't been put out there recently on this show, Dice Funk is on iTunes, it's on Google Play, it's on Podbean. Seasons 3, 4, and 5 are on YouTube. We're working on getting seasons 1 and 2 re-uploaded. I also post the MP3s on my Patreon, patreon.com/Austin Yorsky. You can also just Google Dice Funk. It's pretty much everywhere that you could ever desire it. And where to start? I would start with episode 1 of the most recent season, because that has the best audio quality. So if you like the style, you can always go back and start at episode 1 of the earlier seasons. But I always...
So I'm going to debut a new segment right now on Word Funk called
when we have no time, absolutely.
Johnny's ASMR, where I'm going to centrally read off the titles to every movie that WWE Studios has ever made.
It's going to take a long time. There's actually a lot, but you can go ahead.
The Rundown. Walking Tall. See no evil.
Hold on, let me take my pants off. Hold on.
The Marine. The Condemned. Behind Enemy Lines. Columbia.
We need to leave. I don't know if I want to be here for this.